Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? Violence is never the answer. This is a quip adults, particularly adults employed in the K-12 education system in the United States of America, often deliver unironically to children. The sentiment behind such an aphorism is admirable, but just because it is admirable, that doesn't make it correct or particularly useful. My assertion here may come as a surprise to some, as I am known as a conflict management professional, but sometimes violence is the answer. It just depends upon what the question is, who is asking it, and fundamentally, who owns the dictionary. Let me break this down for you a little bit. If a bully physically assaults me, and I must protect my person or the persons of those around me, then we absolutely are together in a space where violence, the minimally acceptable legal standard, is the correct answer to the question the bully is proposing by their physical actions. If the bully has yet to physically assault my person, then violence may not be the answer to that moment in the interaction. And if the bully is confused, as they usually are, about what goals they're pursuing, and they have not yet resorted to physical violence, the best answer might be merely to take my person and the persons of those around me and run away. Those distinctions, with a difference, can only be delivered by someone who has experienced violence, delivered violence, and also avoided violence. They can't even be comprehended by someone whose last quote-unquote violent encounter was with words or images in a social media post on their phone. Words in and of themselves are not violence. They cannot be. However, words can feel to the bully in question like violence, particularly if the words are defined in a way that they emotionally disagree with. The writer, C.S. Lewis, a veteran infantryman for World War I, wrote in Mere Christianity that, quote, "When a word ceases to be a term of description and becomes merely a term of praise, it no longer tells you facts about the object. It only tells you about the speaker's attitude to that object." Close quote. Mere Christianity, preface. That's the piece right there. Quote, "the speaker's attitude to that object." Close quote. I am not responsible for the bully's attitude to an object, to myself, or even to the society and culture they find themselves trapped in. And to try to encourage me, or inveigle me, or to blackmail or browbeat me into empathizing with the bully is either a case of weaponizing my feelings, or it could be construed as committing violence. The idea that violence is never the answer ignores reality in favor of childish posturing, avoiding the sting of personal accountability, and creating not just straw man arguments, but also entire towns full of inhabitants stuffed only with misplaced empathy, misdirected frustration, and, of course, misanthropic behavior. Leaders should avoid aphorisms that don't mean anything. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, You should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.